It was a rare calm morning on my property. The sun had just risen, casting golden light across my ranch-style yard. My wooden fence, sturdy and hand-built, stood tall like a protective wall. Birds sang, and the smell of fresh coffee drifted from my kitchen. This fence wasn't just wood and nails, it was pride. It had taken weeks of sweat, planning, and saving. It marked my boundary, my safe zone, a symbol of independence from the HOA's suffocating rules. But peace never lasted long in a neighborhood run by Karen. She was the self-appointed queen of the HOA, patrolling the streets like it was her personal kingdom. Even though my property was outside her jurisdiction, she never missed a chance to remind me that she thought she still had control. That morning, though, I wasn't thinking about Karen. I was thinking about breakfast. That's when the calm shattered. The sound hit like a thunderclap.
Screech!
Tires screeched against asphalt, followed by the deafening boom of wood splitting. I bolted outside, coffee still in my hand, and froze. My fence wasn't standing tall anymore. It was splintered, torn open like a bomb had gone off, and lodged deep in the wreckage was a sleek black sports car, its front end crumpled like paper. Steam hissed from the radiator, the engine whining. Behind the wheel, slouched back in his seat with a smug grin, was none other than Karen's teenage son. A reckless kid with too much horsepower under his foot and no sense of responsibility. He looked at the destroyed fence, then at me, and smirked. "Guess your fence couldn't handle a real car." Before I could even react, I heard the voice I dreaded most. "What have you done to my baby's car?" Karen came storming down the street like a hurricane. Her phone was already in her hand, recording everything. She didn't even check if her son was okay. Her eyes were locked on me like I was the villain in her drama. "You'll pay for this," she shrieked, pointing at my broken fence like it was evidence of a crime. This ugly fence shouldn't have been here anyway. "It violates HOA sightline rules. You endangered my son." I almost laughed. Her son had destroyed my fence, but somehow I was the criminal? Karen wasted no time dialing 911 on speaker. Her voice cracked into fake sobs as she told the dispatcher, "Yes, officer! My neighbor built an illegal fence and it caused my son's car to crash. His car is totaled. You have to make him pay." Her son leaned casually against the wreck, nodding along like he was in on the scam. He didn't look scared or guilty. He looked like this was just another one of Mom's tricks. But there was one detail neither of them knew. My property wasn't under HOA rule. The city had approved my fence months ago. Every post, every permit, every measurement was legal. I folded my arms and waited. Let her dig her hole deeper. Within minutes, the distant wail of sirens echoed down the street. Blue and red lights flickered against the houses, growing brighter as 2 patrol cars pulled up. Neighbors peeked through curtains, some stepping onto porches. Karen straightened her blazer and adjusted her hair, ready to perform like she was in a courtroom drama. She rushed up to the officers, nearly tripping on her heels. "Officers! Arrest him immediately. His dangerous fence destroyed my son's car. Look at the damage! Look at what he's done!" The officers glanced at me. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I simply pointed toward the security camera mounted above my porch, its little red light blinking like a silent witness. "Officers, if you'll allow me," I said calmly, walking back inside. Within moments, I returned with my tablet. With a swipe, the footage came alive. There it was, her son, racing down the street at nearly 60 mph in a 25 zone. He lost control, swerved, and plowed directly into my fence. The officers leaned closer, their faces hardening. There was no denying the evidence. Karen gasped, her face draining of color. Her son shifted uneasily, mumbling, Mom, maybe we should—" "Quiet!" she snapped, her voice breaking, but Karen wasn't ready to lose. She pointed at the screen and screamed. "This is fake. He edited this. My son is an excellent driver. Everyone knows it." The officers didn't flinch. One of them tapped his radio. "Dispatch, confirm traffic cam footage at Maple and Pine." Seconds later, the radio crackled back. "Confirmed. Vehicle was speeding 62 in a 25. Same make, same plate number. Matches homeowner's video." Karen's confidence shattered. Her son buried his hands in his hoodie pocket, avoiding eye contact. The taller officer turned to me with a nod. Sir, your fence is fully legal, and you are not responsible for this accident. The driver here is entirely at fault. Karen's eyes widened, her mouth falling open. What? That's impossible. I'm on the HOA board. We make the rules. The second officer gave her a look so cold it could freeze fire. Ma'am, the HOA doesn't override city law. And city law says your son is liable. End of story. Her son muttered again, barely audible. Told you this fence was legal, Mom. Karen spun on him, her face twisted in rage. But the battle wasn't hers to win anymore. The officers had barely finished when the rumble of a heavy engine echoed down the street. A massive tow truck, yellow paint scratched and steel chains rattling, pulled up beside the wreck. The officer waved him over. This vehicle's not drivable. Take it to the impound lot. Evidence will be needed for court. Karen nearly collapsed. No. You can't take my son's car. That car cost more than this man's entire property. The tow driver smirked, unfazed by her shrieks. He knelt down, clamped the steel hooks under the car, and with a grinding whir began lifting her son's prized possession off the ground. Her son's face flushed crimson. The car that once gave him status and pride was now dangling helplessly like a captured animal. By now, the noise had drawn nearly the entire neighborhood. Families stood on porches, kids pointed, phones came up recording every second. I caught snippets of whispered conversations. About time Karen got what was coming to her. She's always blamed others, but now the truth's right in front of everyone. Karen looked around, realizing for the first time she wasn't the star of admiration. She was the clown of the show. Her son tugged at his hoodie, pulling the hood lower over his face, praying nobody from school would see the videos. But it was too late. The clips were already spreading. One officer pulled out his notepad, flipping it open with deliberate slowness. The sound of pen scratching filled the air like a judge writing a sentence. He ripped the page and handed it to Karen's son. Reckless driving. Speeding in a residential zone. Destruction of property. Court summons in 2 weeks. Don't miss it. Karen lunged forward. No, this is unfair. He's just a boy. You should be ticketing him. She jabbed her finger at me like a dagger. The officer turned his gaze on her, cold and firm. Ma'am, if you keep obstructing, you'll be charged with interference. For the first time, Karen froze. As the tow truck roared away with the mangled car, Karen snapped. She ran after it, waving her arms, screaming, "Give it back! That's ours! You can't do this!" Her shrieks echoed down the street, but the truck didn't slow. Neighbors laughed under their breath. Some even clapped. Her son groaned, burying his face in his hands. Mom, please. You're making it worse, but she didn't stop. She stomped back, red-faced, veins visible in her neck, glaring at me like I had personally ruined her life. You'll regret this, she hissed. The HOA will crush you. I just sipped my coffee and stayed silent. Because she was already crushed, and everyone had seen it. The officers turned to me, professional once more. Sir, you'll want to contact his insurance company. They're responsible for the cost of repairing your fence. This won't come out of your pocket. I nodded, grateful. Thank you, officers. Karen overheard, and her face twisted like she'd bitten into something rotten. Not only had her son been ticketed, not only had his car been impounded, but now they would also pay to fix the very fence she claimed was illegal. It was the ultimate irony. Later that evening, as I cleaned up splinters from the wreck, neighbors stopped by one. Finally, she got put in her place, one said. Good thing you had that camera, another added. You handled it better than I would have, a third admitted. For years, Karen had ruled with intimidation, weaponizing the HOA like her personal army. But that day, the entire street saw her exposed. Her son sat on the porch steps, head in his hands, the reality sinking in that Mom couldn't save him this time. The next morning, a city inspector arrived, clipboard in hand. He walked the property, measured the fence posts, checked the permits, and smiled. Everything here is legal, sir. Rock solid work. If Karen files a complaint, it'll be dismissed immediately. Karen stood on her porch across the street, arms crossed, burning holes through me with her glare. But there was nothing she could do. No excuses left, no lies that could erase the truth. I lifted my fresh cup of coffee, raised it slightly in her direction, and whispered, "Cheers. Karen, the law's on my side." And with that, the self-proclaimed HOA queen was dethroned, not by rules, but by her own reckless son.